Only virtuous men may lead. The qualifications that we have to look for are virtue and proven excellence. He goes on then, nor have we been wanting in attention to our British brothers. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We've appealed to Congress, he said. We have reminded them of the circumstances of immigration and settlement here. We've appealed to their native justice, their magnanimity, their generosity. We have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations. We've asked Congress to stand up to this kind of thing and stop it. And they are deaf, he says, to the void of justice. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of man, enemies in war, meaning if they attack us, they're our enemies. If we get along, if they're peaceful, they'll be our friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America. Now look very carefully at that phrase. The word united is not capitalized. That is only an adjective. They were united. They were not the United States of America. Up until the Civil War, most of the time you would hear the United States are. After the Civil War, it became the United States is. Very critical difference. They said the states, the right of the states, in General Congress assembled, appealing to the supreme judge of the world for the rectitude or the rightness of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority, not of the Continental Congress, not of a bunch of smart guys that lived in the 1700s, but by the authority of the good people of these colonies, are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connections between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And at the end, after the men had signed the document, Benjamin Franklin turned and said, with a smile on his face, "Gentlemen, we must now certainly hang together, or of a certainty we will hang separate." I'd like you to go back to a little section that I skipped, and we've got only a few minutes to go through it. It says, from this point in the Declaration, as we read the things that were their definition of tyranny, we see continual references to tyranny. And in our founders' thinking, they were always looking for the balanced center. The extremes on either side were very terrifying to them. They were always trying to come back to that middle, safe ground. So on this political spectrum, on one hand, they saw what was called ruler's law. On the other hand, you had anarchy. And then their effort was to bring you back to the middle with what was called people's law. But when you read the writings, this is really their definition of ruler's law. The kind of thing that must be dealt with. They considered it tyranny. That is when a ruler attempts through force or violence. It is when a ruler seeks power to direct all the areas of your life. Whether you can eat trans fat or have salt on your french fries. I'm sorry, that wasn't there. I must have just lost it. Let me get that on the list. Under ruler's law, people are divided into classes. And there's this emphasis on class warfare. Joining up one group and jealousy. This is how they keep control. People are considered subjects of the king. The entire country is seen as the property of the ruler. In tyranny, under ruler's law, the thrust of government is from the top down, not from the people upward. In his writings, Thomas Jefferson once said, "If the Constitution of the United States works as it should, a man will live his entire life and never have any interaction whatsoever with the federal government. If state governments operate as they should, a man will live his entire life and never interact with the state government. And if a man disciplines his life according to the Word of God, he will never even come into contact with the sheriff." Under ruler's law, under tyranny, people do not have inalienable rights. You are governed by the whim of men, not law. And one of the things that our founders wrote about was, when this begins to happen, one of the first signals and signs that this is happening is when the people begin to have a lack of confidence in what's going on around them. Rulers issue edicts which become the law. We're seeing that now. And it happened both under the Bush administration and under the Obama administration. What you may not know is that when the Congress passes a law and it goes to the president for his signature, he can attach to it what's called a signing document. And that signing document now has the force of law. So how the president interprets that piece of legislation becomes an integral part of how that is going to be administered. And we also are seeing the tendency in our nation now to bypass the legislative process and use the branches of the executive, whether it's the EPA or whatever, to advance a particular agenda. Our founding fathers said that is tyranny. They issue edicts which become the law. Rulers exercise control by the manner in which they interpret the law. Problems are always solved by issuing more edicts, setting up bureaus, harassing people with regulation, and charging people for so-called services by adding to their tax load. Now, I'm not smart enough to thought all that up, folks. This is not me coming up with this. I wonder if our founding fathers came back today and saw what a mess we made of things, how they would feel. In fact, I think one of the, if you've seen it, I'll close with this. If any of you saw the HBO series of John Adams, I thought one of the most touching scenes was he had been overseas for so many years, and Abigail had raised their children and done so many things. She finally joined him overseas, and when they get off the boat to come back to this country, his own children don't recognize him. They recognize their mother, they run to her, but they don't even recognize who he is. And at one point toward the end of his life, John Adams is asked, "Sir, was it worth it?" And his answer was, "If in the future those who inherit this system use it, keep it, and guard it, it will have been worth it." But then his answer was, "But if they do not, I will regret that I have done even that." The Declaration of Independence tells us it is not just our right, it is our duty to defend what has been given to us.